Well, here's the message of the day. Matthew's inspired teachings, we'll call them, as we bring forth this message. Have you ever felt that a friend was about to call you before they did? Have you ever had a nudge or an inkling that moments before it happens, a phone call comes through? Yes. We were talking of Daniel, the friend that Matthew has, that he always gets this with, usually. He'll get an inkling that it's going to happen before the phone call comes, and then there it is, Daniel on the other end of the line, talking, conversing, yes, about normal, boring subjects or exciting subjects, but the tonality, we'll call it, of the phone calls events don't really come through specifically. Just the nudge, the inkling that Daniel will be calling soon, and then within an hour usually, or perhaps even sooner, it occurs. This is telepathically aligned through the normal states of awareness in which we find ourselves day to day. These inklings, these little nudges perhaps, these hunches we'll call them, come through from specifically beings that we vibrate conjointly with more than others. We'll say in a workplace setting, the cubicles, imagine these, everybody working in their separate little units, or in a free-flowing motion. Maybe you don't work with cubicles, but we'll use the cubicle setting as a background oases of telepathic communications cannot occur at the workplace environment, specifically because nobody's really into that shit, you know? Like, people don't want to do that on a daily basis when money and time, and we need to do this now and get it done quickly, please. Or at least get it done in a timely fashion that doesn't cost the company money. If you're tuning in to your boss's nudges, however, that I might be on the stick of it, I might not be working out here, oh, I'm in trouble, that's because sensitive beings such as ourselves always feel like we're putting our foot in it, and slipping occurs when we feel like our boss is looking angry today and it's because of me. Well, these are nonsense tonality constructivisms that float around in the radiative frequential states of knowledge that the oases of workplace environment or other environment, we'll say, occurs therein. It is that you are picking up on the collective guilt-shame modulative frequential state of knowledge, which basically says that, yes, we don't want to put our foot in it too much around our boss because we're sensitive beings and so forth. Now, back it up a bit and we'll get back into the workplace setting here. If you're working in cubicles, it would be nice to bounce ideas around telepathically speaking if everybody was on board with this, but in the day and age in which we exist here in 21st century AD Earth, this is not the norm. The idea that telepathic communications can even occur is not really a norm, so to speak, in most environs only, especially in the workplace setting in which speaking face-to-face and conversing and working with our phone tech and messages over the computer screen are much quicker, effective, and very precise. Now, we're leaning into this now. You can feel that with a lover or a spouse or a woman Matthew may be involved with, these telepathic leanings could be, conjointly now, because it's a two-way street, or highway, paved very reluctantly now with smooth, intentional, frequential states of knowledge where we want to imbibe the other's essence, so to speak, without getting in their space, so to speak. Say she's off doing something, a list in her hand, she's grocery shopping or something, and I get a bit of a notion that maybe she needs to pick up some milk for me. I forgot to tell her. Now, am I going to try to send her telepathic messages of, milk, please, milk, just give me the dairy product I really want you to pick up. I forgot to write it on the list. No, we use a telepathic phone and type milk, please, and she has it. It's much simpler and effective, so to speak, to use the devices in which we all have and all congregate around. The collective consensus therein is that these devices are much more effective and fun, so to speak, than telepathic leanings therein. Although, in a basic sense, telepathy and communications across ESP lines, we'll call them, wavelengths of energy where thought forms and symbolism can communicate with others, the idea sets that we all have are generally, I'm hungry, I need this, I want, I desire. These can be we's. We are hungry now. We desire this. We desire flesh-on-flesh contact when we mate, or when relational attitudes aside here. Matthew's saying, well, I don't have a girlfriend. Why are you talking about me mating with people? Because it's a natural state of organismal thrusting, we'll call it, which literally it is, if you get into the real specifics of the sexual acts. Basically, the idea of breeding and forming childlike apparati, or just for the fun of it, the act therein, it always conduces itself into a two-way street, a highway, so to speak, where back and forth mechanismal thrustings can occur. And we're speaking of thought forms here that occur naturally in any relational sense. It can be a friendship where no sex occurs. We are speaking of basically these thought forms bouncing back and forth between two beings, a man and a woman, a man and a man. A group of people is where it gets specifically aligned to chaotic interludes of which street is this? Whose thought forms am I imbibing now? Why am I thinking that I need to take a breath? Because I talk so fast when I do this, that's why. Basically, what we're saying is that the two-way street between lovers in particular, or deep friendships, of course, or familial ties therein, any very specific two-way street that is very heavily trodden, tends to collect boulders, we'll call them. Big thought forms that get in the way of, am I thinking this or is she thinking this? Which one of us is projecting and which one is receiving? These boulders can be congregational in the collective limelight of everyone's background energies. Everyone at work is thinking these things. Everyone around me is feeling the same feeling states of loneliness, decay, modulative, frequential states of knowledge, the ideas of shame, guilt, etc. These boulders that, in particular, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of love and affection. I'm not worthy of any sort of joy or acumen of greater, higher states of being. These boulders do collect on two-way streets, even when it seems that the collective consensus of modulative frequential states of knowledge of where are we? Who are we? Is it me that's coming up with these thoughts? Are these my own feelings and tonality constructivisms? These are, of course, the boulders that we all work on at all times, and they always are going to be present in any sort of circumstance they're in. Until the boulders become cleared from one's own pathways, the other cannot begin to clear their pathways in telepathic communications alone. This is the speech today, and how we may remove the boulders maybe in a different sort of video. What we're trying to say is that at the end of this video, we're going to come up with a sort of fun scenario. Say you're sledding down a hill, and your sister is about to be run over by the other one, who is just a little kid, and she can't control the sled. This happened to Matthew once long ago. Now, if telepathy could occur more frequently, we could beam a thought to the top of the hill to say, no, don't get in the sled, you can't control the beast, that sled is named to the beast for a reason, and you're just a little kid. You're gonna run over your sister on the way down. Oh my goodness. I could have stopped this with telepathic communications up to the top, where my cousin was, and he could have, stopped her or something. I mean, we're just saying that if the freeway of telepathic leanings were available to thee, you could even beam up to the sister, who is younger now. And at a very young age, this happens to be very interesting to say, but the boulders are not quite there yet with younger beings, children in particular. The younglings, we'll call them, do have less of the vibratorial frequential states of knowledge that lead to boulders. They are but pebbles, if any, that occur on the younger tonal constructivisms. And everybody is different. We all develop at our own pace, yes. So even very young children can begin to pick up these symbolisms of boulder building on the paved way of telepathic leanings. These can be, of course, imbibed very quickly at a young age, but mostly now, and very specifically, this team of which I'm aware. I'm only aware of my own familial leanings. So my sisters, I'm sure, were fairly free of debris until, 10, 11, 12, when you start to identify with everything the adults are having to do with and nonsense. Tonality constructivisms can start to build into boulders, and pebbles will start to roll into the boulders. The bigger boulders collect more pebbles. You see how this occurs. and to sweep the highway of frequential states of knowledge where we can come through with this telepathic leaning state of oneness to where we even need telepathy to begin with, well, there's just too many boulders in the field, I'm sorry. The oases of the workplace environment is the norm, so to speak, and even in familial leanings, this is occurring quite specifically now, very specifically, that if you were to teach your children to telepathically communicate at a young age, and en masse now, the entire collective unit of oneness where everybody was doing this in a country, in a citified world, where the metropoli of strata of human existence would be different, so to speak, but it is not. We all have words that we speak at each other. We have boulders that we collect in our field, the fields of our own light and our own constructivism, building our own little light boulders that we need to blast apart in order to have freeway communication to frequency. See? You just can't do it at a certain point. The video's over. Just end it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Today's made-up words were modulative, constructivism, and vibratorial. Also metropoli. Our so-to-speak count was a whopping 7.